And we still have 106 of us for this last session, which is excellent. We're so thrilled that you were able to stay through a lot of your day, and it's just been such great presentations from Anouti, from our expert panel. We're just so appreciative of you spending your time with us today, giving us your feedback as we move into our 2021 funding cycle. So I'm just trying to find Dr. Damiano on my screen, and I'm going to introduce her. Okay, so if everyone can join us, rejoin us, turn your cameras on if you feel comfortable. We'd love to see your smiling faces for our next panel. So it is my great pleasure to go into our last session of the day. And like I said, this will enable you to get your message out there in this very different environment. I would like to introduce Dr. Damiano. Dr. Gakey was unable to be with us today, but we really appreciate all of the work that the Center for Civic Engagement does to partner with United Way. Dr. Damiano is an assistant professor of communication at Marist College. She teaches in the Integrated Marketing Communications Master's Program and the Public Relations Undergraduate Program. She serves as the director for the Center of Social Media, one of Marist Centers of Excellence, which provides training in social media, listening, engagement, influence, and analytics. She holds a PhD in communication from the University of Buffalo of SUNY, New York, a master's in media studies from the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse University, and a bachelor's in public relations journalism from Utica College. Dr. Damiano has taught at colleges and universities in Central New York, Western New York, the New York State Capital Region, and Long Island. Her background is in mass communication with an emphasis on public relations and advertising, and her research focuses on social media, health communication, and the social and psychological effects of emotional appeals and strategic messaging. She's also done marketing communications, public relations, and stakeholder engagement work for clients in industries of healthcare, technology, entertainment, and leisure. Also, partnership with United Way and Marist. Dr. Damiano volunteers with United Way and is honored to serve on our CI Council and Grants Review Committee. And I'm going to unmute Dr. Damiano and also any of the other students that I should be unmuting. So if you just want to let me know their names, and I'll make sure they're also unmuted.
And I think we've got everybody on. So we've got Abby and Chi and Lauren, Georgia, and Taylor. And I can type if you. Great. And should I share my screen, Melissa, or do you have it? And then you'll let me click through. I don't know what's easiest.
Sure. Let me make you co-host so you have the ability. I'll just find you again. You ended up on a different screen now.
Oh, no.
Here you are. Great. So you should be a co-host. Do you have screen sharing ability right now? Otherwise, I can check.
Looks like it's disabled at the moment.
Emily, are you able to help? Otherwise, I'll click through.
Yeah, if somebody else has it, it's nothing too fancy, just to click, we can let you know. No, it looks like I have it now.
Did you get the co-host?
Great, perfect.
And I'm just loading the PowerPoint right now, so hopefully everybody will see that momentarily.
Perfect. Yes, we can all see it, so it's great. So I'll mute myself and turn the floor over to you. Thank you so much for joining us and to the PR team.
Great. And please let me know if there's any issues in terms of seeing or hearing. I'm always really worried about my Wi-Fi, and I think this is a chronic problem that we're all experiencing right now when we're having to use so much technology, and we never knew our computers at home had to be so good because we always had a good work computer. So it's making things a little bit challenging right now. But nevertheless, it's great to be with all of you. And thank you, Melissa, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm happy to be a part of the United Way now, going on my third year that I've been living in the Hudson Valley. And for many, many presentations, I've sat and been an active participant in the audience. And it's great to finally have the opportunity to share some of my knowledge with this wonderful community. So thankful to be here today. And this is a great opportunity for us to share some tips that our students here in public relations in the communication department at Marist have learned, as well as through the internship in our Center for Social Media, to share those tips with you and to also give us an opportunity to maybe offer our services up to you if you would like to work with us in the future. So over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to be sharing some tips, and hopefully you'll have some questions that we can answer at the end as well. So we'll provide all of our contact info should you have additional questions that you think of over these next coming days. But certainly we want to talk about the best ways to reach our audiences in this COVID-19 era. And certainly the channels have changed, where we see so much emphasis on digital communications now, but also how the content is changing too. So certainly in a lot of our organizations, nonprofits, we're working at persuading our audiences to support us, to give a financial donation, to volunteer their time. And this is a really difficult point in our history here, to be asking people to, give their money and give their time. So how do we persuade audiences? How do we use appeals effectively? Those are all things that I think we're all grappling with right now. So just to begin a little bit about our crew here from Marist, as Melissa said, I'm Amanda Damiano. And in putting this presentation together, we worked closely with Melissa Clark. And Melissa Gakey, unfortunately, is not with us today, but she certainly has been an instrumental part of this partnership. And my first introduction to the United Way was through Melissa Gakey, how I met Melissa Clark. So again, she's missed, and just to know that she's fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit about her center coming up. In addition, the 5 interns that we have as part of our center, Abby, Taylor, Lauren, Chi, and Georgia, have just been wonderful. Like I said, they're all upperclassmen at Marist, majoring in communication with concentrations in public relations. And all of the work they've been doing this semester through the center has given them hands-on experience, and just sad at the thought of losing them because their contributions have just been so wonderful. So a little bit about Melissa's Center for Civic Engagement and Leadership. She, of course, is the director of that center, and they work closely in providing volunteer opportunities for student groups at Marist. So many of our clubs, many of our athletic organizations have various policies where students need to complete volunteer opportunities. So Melissa serves as a great liaison in that endeavor to partner the students with organizations in the community and to provide volunteer resources. Another opportunity that she works heavily with is community-based learning. As I said, that's how I first met Melissa at the United Way. I was teaching a research class at Marist. It was an undergraduate public relations research class, and I wanted my students to work with a local nonprofit and to actually go out and conduct some consumer research. So I had reached out to Melissa Gakey, and she said, yeah, are you familiar with the United Way? And I, of course, knew the United Way up in my hometown in central New York, and knew it was a great organization. And I said, yeah, I'd love to work with the United Way. So I had met Melissa Clark back in spring 2019, which seems like 100 years ago, and in some ways it really was. But we worked that semester in the class. I had 2 classes, and the students were actually helping the United Way with their strategic plan. And the students actually went out in the local community in various spots in Dutchess County, and they were collecting survey data. So they actually had paper surveys, and they were at Adam's grocery store and the Walkway over the Hudson and the train station. And we had a whole bunch of United Way tchotchkes to give away, and Marist had given some tchotchkes as well too. So it was just a great opportunity for the students to get out and about to practice their research gathering skills, and of course, to help an organization like the United Way. So that partnership would not have been possible without Melissa's Center for Civic Engagement and Leadership. So as I said, she's not with us today, unfortunately, but certainly if you'd like to talk to her to see how she might help with any of your volunteer endeavors, or if you might want to be a class client for any discipline at Marist, not just communication and public relations, please reach out to Melissa Gakey. That's her information listed on the screen. Moving along a little bit to our Center for Civic Center for Social Media is the center where I serve as director and where our 5 interns are interning this semester. And our Center for Social Media was actually established in 2017. And the whole purpose was to turn young people who are these relative digital natives into strategic users of social media. And we find that in many classes at Marist, no matter what the discipline is, we oftentimes assume that young people know everything about social media and we don't know how to do it and we don't have to know how to do it because we've got them. But that's certainly a misconception. And the whole idea of just because the students grew up with the technology, we need to work with them so we could all learn how to be strategic users. So that was really the mission, and that remains the mission of our Center for Social Media, to make sure that students can strategically use social media, whether that's through social media listening efforts to find out what people are saying online about your organization, to interact with them online, to actually have the engagement where people are asking questions and leaving comments and being able to respond to them in real time, and being able to analyze what does it all mean over an extended period of time. So these comments, these likes, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? How do we compare to our competitors? So the software that we use in the Center for Social Media is called Salesforce Social Studio. And it's an expensive software. Thankfully, Marist has provided the subscription for us and has covered the cost. There are, of course, similar softwares that are cheaper, some that are even free. If you look at something like Google Analytics, that of course provides similar statistical tests of social media conversations. But we of course have this software, so we work as much as possible with clients on campus as well as clients in the local community to use this software to see what people are saying about a certain brand, a certain industry, or a certain competitor as well too. And the software Salesforce Social Studio allows us to publish content, to engage with our followers, and to analyze the content. So some of the work we've done in recent time here, and our first client Walkway of the Hudson, and I believe here are our images coming a little late, but better late than never. So we of course worked with the Walkway over the Hudson last fall 2019. They were our clients for our Center for Social Media. And we found that a lot of communication on social media involving the Walkway of the Hudson was people who were out for their daily walk, their daily run, their daily dog walk. And they, of course, would go on the bridge, snap a picture, come home and post it on their social media, whether it was Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. So that essentially was the extent of the interaction that the Walkway over the Hudson was having with their audiences. And certainly there's so much more that can be done there. So we started using Salesforce Social Studio to look at some of the statistical analyses and where the Walkway over the Hudson was in the grand scheme of social media, what people were saying on the World Wide Web about the Walkway over the Hudson. And these statistical tests are all pulled from the Salesforce Social Studio software. And you see that in terms of posts, right, there was a decrease over this period of time we were looking at. A lot of content was coming from Twitter. Images were heavy. So once again, we are finding that people were going out, taking pictures after they were on the walkway, coming home and posting those pictures. These various statistical tests show us whether the content was positive, negative, neutral, where the content was coming from. We see the media type trend. We also see this word cloud when people were posting any verbiage about the Walkway over the Hudson. What were the other words that they were utilizing? So these are some of the tests that we get from using the software. So essentially where we see these little peaks and valleys, we found that people tended to be more active on social media and talk about the walkway when it was in relation to an event. So whether an event had just been posted as being advertised, something that was on the horizon, or post-event, after the event, people were most likely to engage in some type of discussion about the walkway. So that was some insight that we shared with the folks at the walkway, and that, yeah, have more events if possible, but if nothing else, keep in mind that your audience is going to be most active when you first advertise an event and right after the event as well. So if you do want to increase your engagement with them, the best time to do that is when it's related to an event. One other client we had been working with last year, Sprout Creek Farm. This is the farm that Marist College had been working with in various capacities. And Sprout Creek Farm, of course, is a beautiful space, and they have had some struggles, and many of those struggles had happened even before I was here living in the Hudson Valley. So a lot of this I've learned about since then. But Sprout Creek Farm was really looking to try to get some more notoriety and positive notoriety in the local community through traditional media, but also social media as well. So, of course, in the summer of 2017, as I'm told, that was when there was a listeria outbreak, and that really had some repercussions, certainly for Sprout Creek Farm, but also Marist as well, where we are getting a lot of our cheese and it being, part of our dining services. So when we started to look at some of their social media, we were concerned that we would find a lot of people on social media would have negative things to say about Sprout Creek Farm. What we found was just the opposite. No, it was not positive. We found that nothing was being said about Sprout Creek Farm on social media. So in some cases, maybe that's better, that there wasn't this negative connotation that needed to be overcome. But instead, we found that there wasn't a whole lot going on. And this really had us go back to the folks at Sprout Creek Farm and talk to them about their social media accounts. They had been using Facebook. They also had a Twitter account. They did not have Instagram. So this was really bare bones with this client, where we spoke with them and we said that's really, how do you begin gathering a social media presence, which is where I think some brands are right now, where they maybe were not using social media before, and now it's become something that's critical in this COVID-19 era. So we gave them some tips and tricks to get started with their social media. And we have not, checked in with them this semester just because things are so hectic right now, but hopefully they've been able to expand their social media, because they really have an opportunity, if things are at the ground level, that there is no negative connotation at this point, according to our social media analysis. It's a matter of just getting their voice out there. So there's an opportunity to move forward. So taking us through the panel and where we're at right now, certainly communicating in this COVID-19 era is critical. And this article that I have come across just shows the, extreme push for digital communications, where we're seeing an accelerated digital communication strategy by an average of 6 years. So in all of the digital technology that would come over a 6-year period, we see that happening now immediately in real time. And as a result, organizations have to adapt. And no matter how small these organizations are, even if it's a communication staff of one person, it really behooves all of us to try to look for a digital presence and to expand our digital footprint, knowing that our audiences, even if we do have an older audience, that many of those folks who are media traditionalists, who are not using social media, now they suddenly are. And anecdotally, I can just think about my parents, who are just dear people, in their early 70s, and, very involved with their traditional media, and they're not social media people at all. But of course, this pandemic happened, and the simple things like going to the grocery store can be really scary for them, and to the point that it could kill them. My mom is a type 1 diabetic. So now my parents go on Instacart, and they go on Walmart.com, and they use their Walmart app, and they place their orders for grocery pickup. So even our audience, if they are tending to be more of a traditional media audience and an older audience, they of course are also expanding their digital communication skills. So our organizations, of course, need to try to reach them as best as possible. So some of these additional statistics here from this article showing that there's this emphasis on omni-channel communications where organizations are using multiple platforms to get the word out. So if there are still tried and true to traditional media platforms, not to lose those completely, but also see where digital communication can perhaps enhance your strategy to best reach your audience. And interestingly enough, the whole idea of easing of barriers, right? That's always the excuse that we use when it's something that's new and different to us. Something like integrating a digital communication strategy. We'll say, well, it's going to take a while for the boss to approve, or, well, traditional communication has just been so effective, or, if we had more people, or if we had more time. Those are always the excuses that I've heard and I've used in various situations as well too. But we have actually seen an easing of barriers as time has gone by, where people say that, yeah, lack of time, 34% of people say, no, we can no longer use that excuse. The reluctance to replace legacy software, 35% say we can no longer use that excuse. There's no time like the present to actually change this up and to reach our audience as best as possible. So with that said, we are going to get into some of our individual presentations by our students, and certainly as we have questions, I'll be monitoring the chat box, and hopefully we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. So our first is going to be Taylor, who will talk about setting up an Instagram account.
I think Taylor is still muted.
Okay, thank you for that.
I'll take care of that 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My name is Taylor and I am a senior at Marist. And today I'm going to be kind of walking you through setting up an Instagram account, some tips that can help your Instagram account grow and be successful. So it really is so simple to set up this account. It really should only take about a minute or two. And Instagram is really important for people to have nowadays because it is a platform that people of all demographics are using, from younger to older. Everyone is on it. So it's a great platform to be on and a great way to get exposure for your organization. So first, as you can see on the left side of the screen, you can log in with your Facebook account if you already have one, or if not, you can log in with a mobile number or email. And it's really important to make sure that this is an accessible one, because a lot of times Instagram will reach out to you in case maybe someone is trying to log into your account, or if you need to change your password. So it's important to make that one that you have easy access to. Next is your full name. This is going to be seen on your profile, so it's an important one to make simple, make it easy for people to find you, and that is the same for your username. This is very important because it's something that everyone is going to see. You can use underscores, numbers, and periods in it, and it really helps people find your account when they search you in the search bar. And you can change your name and username later on, but changing your username often isn't really advised because it makes it difficult for followers or people trying to look you up in the future to find you. And then last is just your password, something that you can easily remember and write it down. And you can also change that later. And then next, it's going to ask you for your birthday, which this is just so they know that you are old enough to have an Instagram account. And then after that, it's done, and they'll give you a list of suggestions of Instagram accounts you can follow for inspiration, to get photos on your feed, and so on. And you can switch to the next slide. Thank you. And so now here are some tips for starting up your business account on Instagram. So first, when you go to your profile on Instagram, there is an edit profile section where you can change your username, change your full name, and so on. And then there is settings in the top right corner, a little gear icon. And so under settings, you just hit switch to business account. And this is really important because it really shows people who are looking at your profile what your account is really about. And you can pick any industry. And so let's say there's a restaurant, people can choose restaurant. So their profile is listed as a restaurant. And it really shows users that you're a business, not just some random person's profile. So next, it's important to follow accounts that are similar to yours in order to gain followers. Because a lot of times these people will follow you back, which is a good way to grow your following account. And it's also really important to follow big accounts that may be similar to yours, maybe popular accounts that have a lot of followers, because they may post things that are trending that you can follow on your feed to know, oh, maybe I should post something similar because this is what people enjoy right now. Next is adding a bio and your profile picture, which is, like I said before, under the edit profile option. And this is really important information that where users will find information about your organization. And so when you switch to a business account, it lets you add your hours, address, email, phone number, and so on that people might be looking for when they're on your profile. And it helps people who may come across your profile get to know a little bit more about you in your brief little description in your bio. And then your profile picture helps users easily find you and recognize your account if they were looking for you. And this can be easily added in with a recognizable photo or your logo. Next is the link in your bio for your website. This can be easily added again through the edit profile. And it gives users easy access to your website while they're in the app. And this is also important if someone comes across your Instagram account and wants to maybe look at your website, browse it, see what you're all about, they can easily do that right through your profile. Next is posting content, also with relevant hashtags, so your post can be noticed. So posting makes people want to follow your account. If you have no posts, then it's not very likely that a lot of people will follow you. And make sure your content is relevant and enjoyable so people will enjoy following you, give you likes and comments. And make sure to include important info, updates about your organization, and so on that people like to keep up to date with. And also get your followers engaged and involved. It's good to ask questions to your followers, so it'll make them want to comment, like, and engage with your organization. And then using relevant hashtags, Georgia will get into this a little later, but it helps your posts get noticed when you add them in your caption, in comments, and so on. It helps you gain more followers. And sometimes you can even go into search these relevant hashtags that have to do with your organization, and you can go through and like and comment on these photos. And this can gain you more followers and expand your network by interacting with these profiles that you wouldn't before. And then lastly is interacting with your community and people you follow by liking and commenting on their posts. So really, if you just go through your homepage, your feed, leaving likes, people will often like your photos back. Leaving comments, people will often comment back, comment on your photos in return. And this is a good way to also gain these mutual followers. It's engaging with your community through these followers is a good way for people to know that you're not a robot account, like you're personal, you're interacting with people, and so on. And even responding to your own comments. If someone comments on one of your posts, responding to them, if they ask you a question, and so on, is a good way to interact with your followers so they want to keep engaging with your Instagram account. So this will all help people enjoy following you and really help starting this Instagram account for your organization. Thank you.
Next, we're going to turn it over to Lauren. She'll talk about Instagram stories and Instagram Live.
Hi guys, I'm Lauren. I'm a junior at Marist, and I'm going to be talking about using Instagram stories and Instagram Live. So with social media becoming the way of the world, it's really important that we're using all the features it has to offer, because it's no longer enough to just post regularly. Recently, platforms like Instagram and Facebook are prioritizing users' posts from friends and families, which means that your followers may not be seeing your posts. But for both Instagram stories and Facebook Live, they're automatically bumped to the top of the user's profile or their user's feed, which causes the user to engage more with them. Users are more likely to watch and engage with stories and Facebook Lives because they're filmed live. And here I have some examples of how you could use Instagram stories and Facebook Live. For Instagram stories, you can feature some success stories, spotlight employees and volunteers. You can post announcements for events, share clips from promotional videos as a sneak peek. And a lot of times I've seen organizations create a game or a challenge for their followers to engage with. And for Facebook Live, you can live stream events, hold question and answer sessions, interview your employees and volunteers, and give a live tour of your facility, and then give regular progress on certain initiatives and programs. And in the next slide, I have a few examples of some nonprofit organizations. So all the way to the left, I have a little challenge that UNICEF created. This was the Childhood Challenge, where they asked their users, their audience, to share a photo from their childhood, donate to UNICEF, and then nominate 3 more people to do the same. And the rest of their story included the posts that their audience did. There's also the next picture towards the left is from Doctors Without Borders, and they did a nurse spotlight. So in this photo, they have the nurse's name, and then the following stories. They had clips of her doing work and what is the most important things to her. And then the next 2 photos on the right are both Facebook Lives from UNICEF and Doctors Without Borders. UNICEF did a whole series on like protecting different like precautionary measures for the COVID-19 pandemic. And then Doctors Without Borders did a partnered with Live Med Aid, and they did a sponsored event, and they put it on Facebook Live, and it ended up being a fundraiser for both of the organizations. Thank you, guys.
We'll turn it over to Chi now, and she'll be talking about shooting video on a cell phone.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find her to unmute her. There we go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Chidera. I'm a senior at Marist College in the communications department. And I'm just going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks on how to shoot a video on a cell phone. I know it may seem very simple, but it's a lot more than just hitting record. And some of these things can help you kind of enhance your videos. So first off, a very simple step is making sure that your lens is clean. This will help the clarity of your video, whether you're shooting from the front camera or the back camera, just using like your sleeve or the end of your shirt to just clean off any like dust or anything that would get in the way or distract in the video. Next is orientation. Shooting video either horizontally or vertically can help the engagement of your videos on specific social media platforms. For example, YouTube, the way it's set up for horizontal video. So it would be important if you're shooting a video for YouTube to make sure that you're shooting in horizontal. But if you're shooting for like Instagram stories or Facebook Live, making sure that your camera is vertical is an important step. Another thing is lighting. Natural lighting is always the best, but for example, if you're shooting like a video in the middle of the day and the sun is directly above you, it can cast kind of unflattering shadows on your face. So the lighting may not always be the best. So people suggest shooting at times that are maybe earlier in the morning or later in the evening when the sun is at an angle, or shooting inside with facing a window or a regular light is always good. And stability, which is one that I think is very interesting, always to use two hands when you're recording. This will help make sure that you're not shaking and that you're able to kind of not cause any distractions with movements. And a tip that I found with this is if you kind of like lock your arms to like your sides and then hold your camera, it allows for you to limit your movement. And it's just a little simple tip or trick that'll help you lessen movement. And or investing in a tripod is always another way to lessen movement and to create a more stable video. And then not being afraid to use effects, slow-mos, filters, speeding up videos that can enhance your video, and it can engage your followers even more. And these are just some tips that are specific to certain social media platforms. For Instagram specifically, videos do get 2 times the engagement that photos do. So if you are questioning whether to use to promote something in a video or a picture, that's a good statistic to keep in mind. Instagram does support horizontal and vertical videos, and this can go for your Instagram feed posts, your stories, your IG Live, and most recently they added IGTV. And as I mentioned before, YouTube supports horizontal videos. That's what looks best on the platform. And YouTube is really known as the home of videos, and it's a very popular search engine for people who are looking for specific, like if they type in specific keywords to see certain videos. So making sure that your videos have the proper titles and tags and detailed descriptions will help your video gain more traction if people search for a video that's on your topic. And then lastly, Facebook, which is a huge social media platform. Facebook videos get 32 billion views per day. So the chances of someone seeing your video are enormous. You can post videos on your feed, you can go live, or you can post the stories. And Facebook also supports horizontal or vertical videos. Thank you.
And next we have Abby talking about setting up a content calendar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby. I am a senior at Marist, and this is my first semester interning with the Center for Social Media, but it's been such a wonderful experience. And I've learned so much from Dr. Damiano as well as the other interns. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about setting up a content calendar. Now, this can seem a little bit overwhelming to begin with, but it's definitely worth it to do this process because it is really great for keeping you on a schedule, on a routine for staying engaged with your followers through posting on social media. So again, content calendars help you establish this routine for posting on your social media accounts. And by establishing a routine for posting, you never have to wonder or worry about what content you're going to post on any given day of the week or in the future. So on the next slide, I'll get a little bit into the steps for creating a content calendar. So for us in the Center for Social Media, we use a content calendar to establish relevant themes for posting throughout the week. So, we have these different themes. So one theme that we do is Motivational Monday. So we just post a motivational quote on our social media account with a caption, typically geared directly towards Mara students because that is our target audience. But you can come up with a motivational quote that fits your target audience and what your organization is doing. So one example of a Motivational Monday post that we made recently was that each Monday is a fresh start. So we just wanted to give our Red Foxes a positive attitude moving into the rest of the week. But another example of something that you could do for a Monday theme is Monday Mood. So also in the past, we have done different memes. So we did one where it was just SpongeBob and Patrick and they looked kind of like shocked and the caption was, "It's Monday already?" ? And it was just kind of different from what we normally do, but it was really, really good to get students engaged. Then we have Tuesday tips and Tuesday thoughts. So this can be just, a tip for your followers to implement into their lives throughout the week or into the future. Or it could be another type of quote for a Tuesday thought. Wednesday wisdom, Wednesday words, same type of thing. It could be a quote or it could just be a piece of sage advice for your followers. Throwback Thursday is one that is very popular on our social media accounts. So we feature Marist alumni on our Throwback Thursday posts, but it could be featuring different initiatives that your business has taken in the past or different events to kind of highlight what came from those events. Fact Friday, Friday fun. Fact Friday would be a really, really great one for a business. You could talk about different statistics that have to do with your industry or your business in particular. Again, it's really just whatever works for your business, whatever you think would be beneficial. It's just coming up with these themes that you can kind of fall back on if you are having issues with keeping a consistent posting schedule. So while in the Center for Social Media, we do use Salesforce Social Studio to kind of generate our content calendar. You definitely don't need to pay for these services. You can use any written or virtual calendar. It's really all about keeping you organized. So whatever system works for you for establishing this routine is more than sufficient. So it's all about finding that system that works for you. The content calendar is what you make it. It can be as simple as just creating an upload schedule. So writing down those themes that you think work for your business and trying to stick to it as best you can. But it can also be a tool to help you establish like the deadlines for generating your content. So an example of this would be you could focus on throughout the week gathering your multimedia to post and generating the content through free services such as Canva, which is something that we use frequently to make our like the Motivational Monday post that was in the previous slide. And then plan to have social media content generated and captions created on the Sunday evenings for the upcoming week. So that way you have your content generated, you're not worrying about it throughout the week, you're just sticking to that upload schedule. And again, this can also just be a schedule for how you are going to plan on engaging with your audience too. You could dedicate an hour, say an hour to responding to comments or doing a Facebook Live with executives in your organization. It's really all about coming up with that schedule, that routine for staying engaged with your audience. That's really all it is. It's very simple. It is what you make it. Thank you.
And finally, Georgia is going to be talking to us about using hashtags.
Hi, my name is Georgia Woodcock. I'm a sophomore from Marist, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of the easiest ways to optimize your engagement on any social media platform, and that's by using hashtags. So on any platform, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, you need to be using hashtags. A hashtag is by putting a £sign in front of a phrase or a word. You're making a clickable link that you can bring to other relevant topics, posts, and businesses. One thing to keep in mind is that your account needs to be on public to show up under these hashtags. And hashtags are the easiest ways to grow your business on social media and connect with other businesses. Posts with one or more hashtags receive 12.6% more engagement than those without. That engagement can be new business for your organization. Next slide, please. Thank you. The hashtags you choose for your business need to be relevant in key phrases and words. So to start coming up with hashtags, you need to brainstorm and research your hashtags. The best way to do this is by making a list with hashtags that you find that are relevant to your business. So this could be Poughkeepsie, Hudson Valley business, small business, New York. And then to make sure that these hashtags fit into your content, you need to be researching them. And you can do this by searching them on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Instagram actually has a great tool that when you search a hashtag on Instagram, you can hit follow, and that way your feed, which is on, so once you hit following a hashtag, your feed will, whoever posts using this hashtag will show up on your feed. And the next thing to do is to start using hashtags. So hashtags can be put into your caption on your post for a more clean and organized look. They can post it on the first comment. So to do this, you need to make sure that in your caption, you can use 1 or 2 hashtags, but right after you're going to want to use your first comment to use 15 to 20 hashtags. That way your caption stays clean and the message isn't lost. Next slide. So here are some examples of what I was talking about. So looking at hashtag Marist, when you click follow on your feed, a hashtag Marist will show up, and this will be some of the content that you will see. And then this is an example of a small business that I found that was utilizing the hashtag. And you can see that in their first caption, they have no hashtags there. It's just their message. And then right under it, they use about 20 hashtags to get engagement on their post. Thank you.
Great, and thanks to all the interns for doing such an awesome job and sharing tips. So we just wanted to pass along the contact information for our center. So if you would like to work with us going forward and for us to take you on as a client, please reach out to me and we could talk with you, touch base, and provide some recommendations for moving forward. And I know there's quite a few questions in the chat box, so we want to get to that and answer answer whatever we can and open it up for discussion with our remaining time. But certainly Marist has an extensive internship program. So if you were looking to have your own intern, all of these students certainly are wonderful. So you might be interested in working with some of them one-on-one and having them in-house for you. So once again, you could reach out to me, and I can also connect you with our internship coordinator through our School of Communication and the Arts if you were looking to get an intern for your specific organization for a semester coming up. But in the meantime, we will open it up to Q&A, and thank you for your time. And I will stop the screen sharing here. And just taking a look at the chat, I know Melissa had put in a couple questions. And let's see, there was a question about, I'm just jumping in here and then I'll go back, but the best time of day to post on Facebook. If any of the students would like to chime in there, and certainly it depends. I think that's the short end of the answer, but I'll let the interns start going on that while I'm reading through some of the other questions.
On Facebook, you should be posting about 2 times a day. And in the morning, you should be posting with something that's about quote, something to get the morning started, start engaging your audience. Later in the day, if you had an article you wanted to share or something that is exciting going on in your organization, you should be sharing later in the afternoon. I would do this within business hours, so no earlier than 8 o'clock and then no later than about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Great, perfect. And going through some more of the questions. In terms of length for the videos, there was a question about how long they should be. Chi, if that's something that you want to jump in on, I know that was your section, or if any of the other ladies.
Okay.
Mhm.
I would say it depends on the content of the video. If you're posting like a short ad or a short promotional video, 30 seconds to a minute. But if the content is like an interview or you're shadowing someone, or like the video contains more content, then I think keeping it under 5 minutes. I know people, like especially on social media, are so quick to just like swipe through stuff. So if your video is longer, you want to make sure that the content is engaging the entire time through.
Great, thank you. And a question we had in the chat box was, when negative experiences are placed on social media pages, should you respond, ignore, or delete? And, you know, that's always a tough situation. And I know Marist has contended with some of that this semester firsthand, not so much with our School of Communication and the Arts accounts, thankfully, but some of the Marist accounts where people have been really up in arms about the lack of a response early on about the Black Lives Matter movement. And that was a situation where Marist waited to respond. They finally did. And then people were up in arms that the response was too little, too late. And some of their recent efforts that they've taken to be more inclusive and to have more diversity in their advertisements, some of that has not gone over very well either, where people feel like we're just filling a quota. So that has also been challenged. So I've actually noticed different periods of time where Marist has not responded or waited to respond to see if you could kind of temper the flames a little bit. So really, it depends. I would say it's case by case situation. And you ultimately want to vet anything that you're going to put out through people on your team, because even if you think it seems totally innocent and totally neutral, you don't know how that can be misinterpreted. And even if it's a situation where you're going to delete that post, someone will have it saved somewhere where it can certainly come back to bite you and turn into a situation where you've got a social media crisis on your hands at that point. Our Marist fashion department has also contended with some of that, where, you know, a lack of diversity and really just students too, where so many of our fashion students fit a certain profile and isn't nearly as inclusive as it needs to be. So that's a challenge that we've been dealing with in-house through our School of Communication and the Arts. But I can tell you with our pages, our social media, knock on wood, we've been okay. Now that I say that, there'll probably be some big crisis that we'll have to contend with, and that will be our topic of our next panel when we join the United Way. We could share that. But in the meantime, yeah, we've had situations where we posted something and someone has had a comment, and, you know, thankfully these 5 ladies are awesome. So we've been on top of it and we've been able to talk about it as a group and respond in an expedient amount of time.
I would agree. At United Way, we've obviously had that as well, and we have to take each one individually.
Is there anything else I'm missing in the chat? I was just trying to scroll through, or if there's anything else, if anybody wants to unmute, feel free.
Sure. I just wanted to mention there was one other. How can we partner with Marist for an intern to help organize our content and social media platforms?
Yeah, so absolutely. If you'd like to work with any of these ladies, we're together throughout the course of the semester. So please reach out to me, and I could even put my email address in the chat box. So reach out and we can move forward. And next semester, we'll hopefully have some of these ladies back and some more students as well. And if it's anything social media based, we're happy to help. As I said, we also have that internship program at Marist where it's not just communication students. So if you were feeling like you needed a business student or, a student from management or from psychology or whatever discipline that's applicable to your industry, we have internship coordinators. So I can put you in touch with those folks. And it's also worth pointing out that Marist, through our School of Communication and the Arts, we have a student-run integrated communications agency, which is called North Road Communications. And that student-run, where we have students who work with local clients in the community. And it's not just a digital strategy, so it's various communication strategies. So that's another situation where, they're awesome and you might want to work with some of those folks in some capacities as well.
Sure.
I was going to say, I just wanted to say, thank you to Maris because you helped us last year, as you were referencing at the beginning of your conversation, with our strategic plan and having people, students get out and help us do the research. We were trying to figure out what was most relevant to people, in different capacities, but it was extremely helpful. And there's no way we could have done that, with my small staff. There's absolutely no way. So, and we're using, the information that came out of that to follow through on our plans. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to mention, Jeannie. That's great. They're, phenomenal. Last spring or 2 years ago, I don't know what time it is anymore, right? They, enabled us to get 1,300 responses to our strategic plan, which informed our funding priorities at the time. And like Jeannie said, we found some really relevant data that they were able to unearth when they were going through social media platforms, which, helped us do some, some self-actualization and self-reflection and see that, unfortunately, the majority are following, are a little bit older. So we are trying to make more inroads with our, Generation Z, right? Now it's not about the millennials, now it's about Z. So, but my question is, I'm sure that we're not the only ones, right, that don't have, as much identity with the younger generation. For those of you that are on today, they're right here, ready to take your questions. And I'm totally going to, put you on the spot, even though it's the first time we're meeting, but if any of you have any questions, for our expert panel of Z generation, and, as Dr. Damiano said, known for being very tech savvy and social media, interested. So I don't know, like if anyone I'll unmute you if you have any questions. I just want to make sure that you have an opportunity to find out how your organization can, improve that access to the younger generation.
And what you said earlier, we do depend on kind of our employees who are a little younger because we think they do have the expertise and the most current knowledge of what's the next thing that's happened. I mean, I don't even know if I have TikTok or not, but apparently I need to. That's what I know. That's like it's like keeping up with them all. So I always kind of go to my younger employees.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you mentioned that because that's something that the six of us have been talking about quite a lot this semester. And, right now Marist does not have a designated Marist official TikTok. And in the spring, we were working with the folks in marketing and communications, and they were relying on our team because they just had no idea where to begin. And, the staff, they're not dinosaurs. They're not, in their 90s. They're relatively young too, but it's just that for something like that, we are so dependent on people in their 20s. So that's something that the ladies have been working on that hopefully will be rolling out soon. And, our plan for that was just to have content before we actually start directing people to TikTok. You don't want to direct people to our account and there'll be nothing there. You want to have some content ready to go. So the whole idea of embargoing that and having it ready. So then once your site does go live, there's already so much for them to see and engage with.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we do have another question in the chat box from James. Is there any clear racial and or economic divergence in social platform usage? I don't know if you have that data.
Yeah, and I mean, from social media data that I've looked at, we show that Twitter tends to be a platform where a lot of minorities are using it heavily. Colloquially, a lot of people have talked about Black Twitter. And, I can't speak to that because I'm, of course, a white woman. So I obviously can speak for, diverse voices. So I'm just limited in the studies that I've seen. But certainly when you are posting images, we need to be thinking about diversity. And when we're having engagement with people, we need to know that not everybody is coming from that background of us. And that's where, like I said, Marist has gone into some difficult territory because assuming that it's all, high SES, white kids coming to the school is incorrect. And that has caught them into some hot water. Is there anything that the students would like to add to that?
I can unmute you. Okay.
Thank you. I mean, just piggybacking off of what Dr. Damiano was saying, I think it comes down to you can't just assume that all of your audience is coming from your background. You have to be conscious of everyone is unique, and it's representing that in what you're posting.
Thanks. Do we have a final question? I can either unmute you or if you have anything you want to add in the chat box, and then I'll just open up back up to Dr. Damiano and her team for any final comments. Okay. Over to you.
I just want to thank Dr. Damiano and the students. That was awesome. I was actually taking screenshots and I think I missed one. So I'm hoping we can get copies of them. And I'm texting my marketing person, Emily, over there going, do we do this? Do we know how to do this? I like this. So that was great content. So hopefully we'll make those slides available because, it's great to listen to it, but I know for us, those of us that aren't as proficient with it, we're going to go back and try to look at the steps. So that would be great. But thank you very much. It was very informative.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a great opportunity. And like I said, to be able to have this audience and to be able to talk to, people from various industries here in the local community, it's kind of nice. And that is the silver lining here in the pandemic that, maybe this event would not happen. If it was in person, we would have been limited for how long we could stay. And now we've all kind of slowed down a little bit. And we have the day to kind of sit here on our computers and interact with each other. So it's really nice. And like I said, for students to have the opportunity, we're grateful that, these local organizations will give us the time to talk with you. And we've run into situations in the many years I've taught at other institutions where organizations have looked down upon students and have not valued their input. And we've had so many great experiences through our connections here at the United Way where, students literally get a seat at the table and their viewpoints are respected. So we're grateful for that. And we'd love to chat with any organization to help you with your strategy because it's not one size fits all. It's a multi-pronged approach. And we'd love to help discuss strategies.
Thank you so much to Dr. Damiano and to Georgia, Chi, Lauren, Abby, Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you all for having us.
And I can just attest to the wonderful partnership that Marist has had and the School of Communications and all the hard work that they've done for United Way, and we always have fabulous American interns every semester as well. So just an incredible resource and really community engaged. So really appreciate all of your support. I just want to thank all of you so much for your incredible remarks and insights. We appreciate all of your time and attention in today's meeting, and I know we have a lot going on in the chat box, which I will be using for our upcoming funding strategy. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us during this challenging time. And I just want to quickly go over a couple of updates, and for folks that might have missed it in the beginning. So we have our ESPRI convening on Monday at 10 a.m. on Zoom. Please reach out to Peter, who hopefully can add his information right now in the chat box. I know he's put it in a couple of times. And Yaya's putting in the upcoming first-time home buyers workshop, which is great. And there's the link that you can get registered, and definitely apropos to our conversation today. So, you know, please make sure to come. We'll be able to have a lot of resources for those that are looking into purchasing a home for the first time. We also have our ALICE survey, which I know Emily's been sharing as well in the chat box. It only takes 10 minutes. Please share. We're doing a statewide survey with the United Way of New York State. So it's really important that we get that data. So we really love for all of you and the families that you serve to be able to participate. Our holiday helping hand applications, again, are due tomorrow. So please make sure to get those in. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Rebecca. We also have our weekly days of sharing that Rebecca can help assist you schedule a pickup with you. And of course, all of those school supplies and our upcoming holiday gift drive, lots going on, even though we're virtual for sure. I think those are all the ones that I wanted to go over. I also just wanted to mention, if your organization is in need, we still have our COVID relief fund. You can send us a request for up to $500 for basic essentials, for food access, for PPE, to make sure that you're able to safely reopen. We know that's such a, you know, challenging time. And, you know, if you're not able to resume your services, then people aren't getting the help they need. And I also just wanted to say, please, we'll send out our survey soon. So please let us know how we did. It's really helpful for us to be able to build, you know, more better community conversations and just general community convenings and all of our events based on the feedback that you offer to us. So especially now with everything being virtual, we always want to learn how we can do better. So please send us that feedback. And of course, testimonials are wonderful. And it's also very helpful for us to be able to receive that sponsorship and funding to continue to be able to do this work. So I think that's all I had. I wanted to see if Jeannie had anything else she had wanted to say, and I just want to thank you all so much for your time, and I hope that you and your families are safe and well.